He wrapped himself in the trappings of a successful businessman, a mansion, luxury cars, and even a racehorse. He produced an online show called RainCashForYou.tv, flashing stocks of cash and promising solutions. They thought the money was being used to save their homes. They were told they qualified for mortgage modifications through a federal program. But behind the scenes, millions of dollars were disappearing. For Frank Dawson, the celebrity who promised to stop foreclosure turned out to be the very reason he lost everything. This is Fraud in a Moment, and the truth starts now. The Make It Rain Mirage. He lost his home to a man who never had one. Frank Dawson had spent more than 40 years building a life. At only 68 years old, the retired senior wasn't looking for luxury, nor to get rich. He simply wanted to keep the home he and his wife had worked so hard to afford. But like millions of Americans during the housing crisis, Frank found himself trapped between rising financial pressure and the terrifying possibility of foreclosure. Each month brought another letter, another warning, another reminder that time was running out. Then, just when he felt most desperate, hope appeared. At least, that's what it looked like. The advertisements seemed to be everywhere. A company claiming it could help homeowners secure mortgage modifications through government programs. A company promising relief. A company claiming it could keep families in their homes. And at the center of it all was a charismatic businessman, a celebrity who looked like the very definition of success. His online show featured luxury vehicles, expensive homes, and endless displays of wealth. He dripped wealth. He spoke with confidence. He dressed the part. He acted like an expert. To Frank, he looked like someone who had figured out the system, someone who could help, someone worth trusting. An illusion through an image carefully engineered. For Frank, the illusion worked perfectly. He called the company. The representatives were reassuring. They told him he qualified. They explained that they could negotiate with his lender. They told him they could help stop the foreclosure process. Soon, there were several upfront payments to begin. The fees sounded official: a reinstatement fee, a trial payment, administrative costs, processing expenses. Each payment was presented as a necessary step toward saving his home. Frank didn't have much money left, but he had hope, a powerful motivator. So he sent the money, thousands of dollars, money he couldn't afford to lose. And he waited. Weeks went by. Nothing changed. The bank continued sending notices. The foreclosure process continued moving forward. Panic began replacing optimism. When Frank called the company, he received reassuring explanations. The process takes time. The paperwork is being reviewed. Everything is on track. Their goal was simple: keep homeowners believing help was coming until it was too late to save themselves. And it worked, not just on Frank, but on hundreds of victims. Many of them older adults, many of them isolated, many of them desperate for someone to tell them everything would be okay. The scammers borrowed language from legitimate government programs. They used official-sounding terms. They created the appearance of expertise. They wrapped deception inside a professional-looking package. By the time Frank realized the truth, the damage was irreversible. The money he sent was gone. No mortgage modification had been negotiated. No rescue plan had been submitted. No one had been helping him. The people he trusted had simply been stealing from him. Soon afterward, Frank lost the home he had spent decades building. The emotional impact was devastating. The financial loss hurt. But losing the place where birthdays had been celebrated, holidays had been shared, and memories had been made was even worse. And while Frank's story was heartbreaking, it was far from unique. Investigators eventually uncovered a sprawling operation that had collected millions of dollars from struggling homeowners. The man who portrayed himself as a financial savior had built an empire of illusion. The luxury lifestyle, the flashy marketing, the online television show, the appearance of success. Much of it had been financed by money taken from desperate people seeking help, all through the combination of three powerful forces: fear, hope, and authority. Victims like Frank believed the person presenting himself as an expert had the authority to do it. In the end, the show was never about helping homeowners. What did we learn from this story? 1. Legitimate mortgage relief programs generally do not require large upfront fees before assistance is provided. 2. Scammers often imitate government programs and use official-sounding language to appear credible. 3. Flashy displays of wealth, luxury lifestyles, and celebrity-style marketing are not proof of legitimacy. 4. Always verify mortgage relief offers directly with your lender or a trusted housing counselor. 5. Repeated requests for fees, processing costs, or trial payments are significant warning signs. 6. Financial hardship can make people vulnerable to promises that sound too good to be true. 7. Before sending money, consult a trusted family member, attorney, or financial advisor for a second opinion. Scammers understand a lot about human psychology. They know people too often associate success with credibility, while scammers disguise themselves as heroes for the victims who are desperate for one. They exploit struggling homeowners while building wealth from the fears of people fighting to save the roofs over their heads. Then they keep those victims occupied with promises, explanations, delays, and complex terminology. Operationally, it is the genius of the scam. Delay until the victims go away. The show was a scam, and for seniors like Frank Dawson, the cost was measured not just in dollars, but in homes, security, independence, and peace of mind. This has been Fraud in a Moment, where we expose the schemes hiding in plain sight and give you the tools to protect what's yours. Until next time, stay alert, stay steady, and remember, when promises sound grand and relief is close at hand, verify before you pay, or your home may slip away.